Hello, good evening. I'm Liberty Singh, and I'll be reporting the intercultural communication in the business context. So just watch my video and please like it. Enjoy! We agree with Max Weber, who wrote, "If we learn anything from the history of economic development, it is that culture makes all the difference." Trade and exploitation were principal motives for the establishment of European colonies in Africa, the Americas, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands. As Friedman points out, in this era, countries and governments, often inspired by religion or imperialism, or a combination of both, led the way in breaking down walls and knitting together, driving integration. Following the end of the Cold War, dramatic improvements in transportations, telecommunication technologies, and increasingly advanced product distribution significantly reduced or even eliminated time and distance-related barriers. The importance of national borders has diminished in an era characterized by international joint ventures, mergers, licensing agreements, foreign capital investment, and offshore production. These events have led to increased economic interdependencies among nations. What is transpiring today, mainly because of globalization, is the interdependence rather than dominance, is the watchword for doing the business. Businesses have adopted their operations to meet the needs of the new residents. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in the year 2050, whites will no longer make up the majority of Americans. The Hispanic population grew 4 times faster than the total population between 2000 and 2010. Under the Census Bureau's predictions, by 2050, blacks will make up 12.2%, Hispanics will rise to 28%, and Asians are expected to increase to 6% of the population. In addition to the larger number of cultural workers in today's labor force, the number of minority entrepreneurs is also expanding. What this means is that successful management of this diverse labor force demands increased awareness and acceptance of various cultural values and greater intercultural. The communication in the multicultural business context. Developing effective business communication skills for a globalized economy is not a simple matter. The diversity among business cultures can frequently lead to confusion, misunderstandings, and failures in cross-cultural commercial endeavors. In the business sector, determines such as dynamics as protocol, management, leadership, decision-making processes, and negotiations and conflict management. Business protocols. Protocol involves forms of ceremony, etiquette, dress, and appropriate codes of conduct, and it is important to understand and follow the prevailing customs when conducting business in another culture. Now let's begin with China. An unsolicited call or a letter of introduction will usually not work with the Chinese. The most effective means of establishing a business connection is by using your country's Department of Trade or Commerce to arrange appointments with local Chinese businesses. India has much the same attitude about initial contacts because Indian culture is based on established relationships. First exchanges are best made under the auspices of common business associates. In American cultures, such as Brazil's, the best approach is to employ a local pessoa bem conectada, or well-connected person, to arrange introductions and contacts for you. Again, eliciting support from your country's Department of Trade or Commerce will assist in making these contacts. Now I'll be giving you some tips on greeting someone for the first time. First, you have to be sure you know the proper form of address. Second, determine whether you use a first name, last name, or title, but generally, for a first meeting, it is a good idea to use the formal until you are invited to use their first names. And lastly, if someone has a title, it is proper and will be appreciated if you include the title as you are introduced, so you would address the person as like Dr. Wang, or Profesora Marcias. Regardless of the culture in which you may find yourself interacting with others, here is a list of basic protocols you should observe. First, remember your host names and how they are properly pronounced. Use appropriate ranks and titles. Be aware of the local uses of time and punctuality. Create an appropriate impression by wearing suitable attire. Practice behavior that demonstrates your concern for others by employing tact and discretion. And lastly, enjoy social events while observing local customs related to food and drink. We'll look at appropriate greeting behaviors for the specific cultures we will be considering for the remainder of this section. First is Brazil. Brazilians are generally warm and friendly. Extended handshakes are common during first meetings, progressing to embraces once a friendship has developed. Women frequently kiss each other on alternate cheeks. It is common to shake hands with everyone present both upon arrival and departure. Forms of address should include titles such as doctor or professor, or term senor or senora may be used before the surname when a title is unknown or absent. Lastly, Brazilians may even introduce themselves using their titles and their first names, such as I am Dr. Augusto. Now in China, Chinese usually greet the most senior person first and use titles that clearly reflect their cultural emphasis on hierarchy. The Chinese place their family name or surname first and their given name last. The Chinese have widely adopted the Western handshake for initial and subsequent greetings. This, however, does not extend to the common Western practice of placing a hand on the back or an arm around the shoulder. The traditional Indian greeting is the Namaste, where one presses the hands together below the chin, near the heart as in prayer, and bows slightly toward the other person. The use of first names in addressing someone should be avoided. Among Hindus, it is customary to add the suffix G or JI to names as a mark of respect. But, by adding the suffix G, you are addressing the person with respect, and in instance, use of the first name would be not improper. Loyalty to one's family is a Brazilian's highest-ranking obligation. Other traditional dominant values include community, collectivism, procreation, and hierarchical society. Loyalty to one's family is a Brazilian's highest-ranking obligation. Other traditional dominant values include community, collectivism, procreation, and hierarchical society. Decision-making comes from the top and is done on a short-term basis because economic conditions, especially high inflation rates and high dependence on global commodity markets, discourage longer-term planning. Because Brazil is a collective culture, the maintenance of workplace harmony is emphasized. Chinese business culture. China is the major trading partner of the United States, Europe, Japan, and the Middle East. However, China is still a communist country even though, on the surface, economic centralization has given way to a market-oriented economy. The Chinese organizational structure is vertical, with strong emphasis on seniority, rank, and title. Chinese expect lifetime loyalty to superiors in return for lifetime employment. The Chinese bureaucracy sets the tone and pace of commercial activity and determines the feasibility of any business ventures. Any project must also win the support of government officials who control the approval process. The leadership traits they most admire are determination, calmness, strength, intelligence, honor, and reserve. The Indian business culture. India is home to the world's second largest population and an expanding economy. Today, India is an emerging superpower, a center of information technology, and a leader in global offshore business activity. In addition to a large pool of managerial, skilled, and semi-skilled labor, India has a well-developed capital market and a large domestic consumer market. Indians consider all decisions major and they make them slowly. Either one person or a small group or the top of an organization makes all the decision. Negotiation and conflict resolution. Both domestic and international business negotiations involve representatives from different organizations working to achieve mutually agreeable solutions, while concurrently trying to minimize differences, misunderstandings, and conflicts. To obtain these objectives, they rely on communication. Negotiating with Brazilians. Brazilians' interaction styles differ from those in the United States. Frequently, two or more people may be talking at the same time during a conversation with few or no pauses. For Americans, normal conversation pauses provide opportunities for turn-taking. When speaking with Brazilians, you may have to be more assertive in order to enter the conversation. Negotiations cannot be rushed. Business is done with friends, and friendships take a long time to build, because personal relationships form the basis of trust. In business deals, nepotism and preferential treatment to friends is common in both companies and government. Negotiating with the Chinese. In China, the status of team members is significant. The most important member of the negotiating team is the one who is most senior in age. Seniority, along with membership in the Communist Party, is a key to the Chinese workplace hierarchy. Sensitive issues with the potential to create conflict or cause discord are handled with care and normally are addressed in an indirect manner. Chinese are reluctant to give a direct negative reply, relying instead on the soft no. A reply such as, "We think the proposal is worth additional study," is a means of saving everyone's face and maintaining harmony among the negotiators. Negotiating with the Indians. Business in India is personal, and it is necessary to establish personal relationships with those with whom you will be negotiating. The American time is money. Penchant for efficiency and speedy movement through a negotiation to a final agreement does not work in India. As far as Indian negotiating style is concerned, negotiations must follow formal procedures, although the atmosphere may be friendly and relaxed. Although highly collectivist in their local group, Indians develop a sense of individuality when dealing on their own with outsiders. They are adroit at the negotiations of buying and selling. An example of this may be seen by examining an Indian strategy of selling, which they apply with great skill. Their negotiation plan proceeds in a series of steps that may take place over a period of days or weeks. Cultural dynamics affect the manner in which Indians enter into and conduct negotiations. Relationships tend to be diffuse. The father or elder brother is influential in all negotiations, even when other persons are better qualified in the area under discussion. Indians therefore follow in the same tendency as many Asian cultures and find the use of no to be harsh. Evasive refusals are common and considered to be more polite. For the last topic, developing intercultural negotiation skills, we conclude this section on the negotiation process across cultures with a bit of advice. First, be prepared. Second, develop sensitivity to the use of time. Third, listen carefully. Fourth, learn to tolerate ambiguity. And last, try to locate areas of agreement.